Hi friend, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, I'm Melissa, and this is episode 2 of my Journey to Surgery series. I have 86 days until my second knee replacement, and one of the requirements from my surgery center is that I have to lose 15 pounds before surgery. Last week, I shared why I'm approaching this surgery differently than my first one, and what I'm doing to prepare my body, my mind, my habits for what's ahead. So today, I want to give you a really honest look at week 1. What did I eat? How did I do? What were my workouts like? How was my sleep? Did I drink my water? What went well and what didn't? And most importantly, what am I learning about the habits I'm trying to build? Because I've started this journey more times than I can count. And if I'm being honest, I probably started over at least 20 times. So I'm trying to do something different this time. Let's see how week 1 went. So first off, nutrition. Because that's obviously a pretty important part of losing those 15 pounds. I had 2 main habits I wanted to establish this week: meal planning and tracking my food. I meal plan on the weekend based on my calorie and macro goals, what we already have in the house, and how much time I actually have to cook that week. And I'm learning that meal planning isn't just about knowing what I'm going to eat. It's about making the healthy choice easier when I'm tired, when I'm hungry, or I just don't feel like figuring out dinner. I also try to prep things while I'm already in the kitchen. So this week, that meant chopping lettuce, prepping vegetables, and portioning some of my protein so that I have things ready to grab during the week. I also track my food every day in MyFitnessPal. And I'm not going to go through everything I ate this week in this video because I actually want to do a whole episode on how I'm eating and what I'm eating in a typical week and how I'm approaching my nutrition during this journey. But for this week, I'm calling nutrition a win. I didn't hit every calorie or macro target perfectly, but I was consistent. And that's something that I'm trying to remind myself of over and over again. Consistency is more important than perfection. Next up is exercise. My goal was 4 30-minute workouts and at least 6,000 steps a day. And I'm happy to say that I completed all 4 workouts. I did 2 strength workouts and 2 cardio workouts, and I also added in some low impact walking. Get Fit with Rick, if you've ever heard of him. I hit my 6,000 step goal 4 out of the 7 days. Again, I'll do a separate episode where I show you exactly what my workouts look like and what I'm doing to prepare my body for surgery. But there were a couple of habits around exercise that I'm really trying to establish. The first is working out in the morning. And if you know me, you know I am not naturally a morning person, much to my husband's dismay. I'm a hit the snooze button kind of girl. But I have learned that when I get up and get my workout done first thing, I never regret it. When I tell myself I'll do it later, suddenly I come up with about 47 reasons why today isn't a good day to exercise. So I'm trying to make it easier on myself. I'm laying my workout clothes out the night before. I'm deciding what workout I'm doing ahead of time. I'm removing as many decisions as I can from that morning. Another habit I've started is taking an after dinner walk. I sit at a computer a lot during the day, so even if I don't hit my step goal through my normal activity, getting outside after dinner gives me a chance to move, get some additional steps in, and just clear my head. I listen to podcasts or sermons And honestly, I've really started enjoying it. So the next category is sleep. Sleep was definitely my weakest category this week. My goal was 7 hours a night, getting off my phone by 9 o'clock, and being in bed around 9:30. Well, I hit that target 2 out of the 7 nights. I did get 7 hours or more on 4 nights, so I'm not calling the week a failure, but I can see exactly where I need to do some work. I've gotten into the habit of sitting down at the end of the night and scrolling on my phone. And that little, I'll just scroll for a few minutes, turns into much longer than a few minutes. So one of the habits that I'm continuing to work on is that 9 p.m. screen cutoff. And I think that's important to share because not every habit is going to click immediately. Sometimes you have to experiment with what works for you. Hydration was probably my biggest win this week. My goal is 96 ounces a day, and I hit that 6 out of the 7 days. I made it easier by starting my morning with 16 ounces of water and electrolytes, and then spreading the rest throughout the day. And here's a little victory I'm actually proud of. I didn't have a single Coke Zero all week. We went out to eat twice and went to the movies. If you know me, that's a big deal. So I'm taking that win. Okay, so let's talk about the question everybody really wants to know. Did I lose any weight this week? Actually, stayed about the same. And obviously, I want to see that number moving in the right direction because I have a 15-pound goal and a deadline. But I'm really trying not to make the scale the only measure of whether I had a successful week. Because if I do that, I know exactly where my all or nothing thinking will take me. If the scale doesn't move, it's very easy to think, well, what's the point? And that brings me to something that has really been changing the way I think about this journey. I've talked before about how much James Clear's book, Atomic Habits, has resonated with me. And honestly, I think that's because I've spent a good portion of my adult life trying to lose weight. I've had the goals, I've lost the weight, I've gained it back, I've started over again and again. I can probably count at least 20 times where I've told myself, okay, this time I'm really going to do it. And I don't say that with shame. I say it because I think a lot of women watching this probably know exactly what I'm talking about. We set a goal, we get motivated, we do really well for a while, and then life happens. We get tired, we travel, we have a stressful week, we miss a workout, we eat something that wasn't on the plan, and somehow one imperfect day turns into, well, I've blown it. I'll start again Monday. I've done that more times than I care to admit. So what I'm trying to do differently this time is stop making the goal the entire focus. My goal is to lose 15 pounds before surgery. But the habits I'm establishing are the things that are actually going to get me there. Meal planning, tracking my food, getting my workouts in, walking after dinner, drinking my water, getting better sleep, and planning ahead when I know my schedule is going to be difficult. Those are the things that I can actually control. One of my favorite ideas from Atomic Habits is the idea that your habits are really votes for the person you're becoming. I'm not just trying to become someone who weighs 15 pounds less. I'm trying to become a woman who takes care of her health. Every workout is a vote for that woman. Every healthy meal is a vote. Every walk after dinner is a vote. every time I drink my water, instead of reaching for a Coke or a Coke Zero, that's a vote. And the really encouraging part, that I don't have to cast a perfect vote every day. I just have to keep casting them. And this is where another idea from Atomic Habits is really important for me. What James Clear calls the valley of disappointment. Because right now I'm motivated. It's week 1, I'm making plans, I'm meal prepping, I'm getting my workouts in. But eventually, I'm probably going to have a week where I do all those things and the scale barely moves. And that's the point where it becomes really easy to think, this isn't working. But the habits are still working. The strength I'm building is happening, even if I can't see it on the scale. My endurance is improving. I'm creating routines that make healthy choices easier. I'm becoming someone who follows through. The results may be delayed, but that doesn't mean that nothing is happening. And I think that's where lasting change happens, when you keep going before you can see the payoff. I'm going to have an opportunity to practice that this coming week, because life is going to be a little more complicated. I have 2 days where I have to go into the office, which means leaving the house around 6 a.m. and dealing with a pretty long commute home. We're also going to be spending quite a bit of time in the car next weekend, and we have some events where I won't be completely in control of the food. I am in control of my choices, but I won't be in control of the menu. So I'm not going to pretend that life is going to magically become convenient for my healthy habits. Instead, I'm going to plan for real life. I've already mapped out my meals and preloaded some of them into MyFitnessPal. I'm adjusting my workouts from 4 days to 3 days because I know my schedule is going to be different. I'm still aiming to get my 6,000 steps per day in. Because I think there's another important part of building habits. The goal isn't to create a perfect life where it's easy to be healthy. It's to create habits that can survive your real life. So that's week 1. Was it perfect? Absolutely not. Did I lose 15 pounds? Definitely not. But I showed up. I learned what worked. I learned where I struggled. And I started putting some habits in place that I hope will become part of who I am, not just something I'm doing until November 4th. And if you're watching this because you're on your own health journey, maybe you're starting over once or 5 times, or 20 times like me, I want to encourage you not to let an imperfect week convince you that you have to start over. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to keep going. 1 meal, 1 workout, 1 walk, 1 glass of water, 1 good decision at a time. Because the goal isn't just to reach a number on the scale. It's to become the person who knows how to live differently once you get there. And that's what I'm working on. Next week, I'm going to share more about my first knee replacement, including what happened when I developed drop foot and how that experience is influencing the way I'm preparing for this surgery. If you're following along, I'd love to hear from you in the comments. What's one habit that you're working on right now? Doesn't have to be a big one. Maybe you're trying to drink more water, walk more, get better sleep, eat better, or just be more consistent. And if you're new here, I'm really glad you're here. Recovery doesn't start on surgery day. It starts with the choices I'm making today. So I'll see you next week.